Hard to come up with this idea since many people use 3D printing to get their components of the products, but we need to print the whole thing. So I just think about S Pen from the Samsung Note series, and then I think about we can put something into something we basically use every day. So and then I think about the torch maybe, and then one of the members of our group think about maybe we can put utensils. So we just combine ideas together and design this flashlight.
So after we decided on what to design, we started on our design work. So first off, we knew that the first challenge was going to be getting all the pieces together, so we went on Thingiverse to try to find other people's work that we could use. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything that we could use for the slide connections for the utensils. So because this was going to be something that we were creating on our own, we went ahead and started prototyping on that because we figured that would probably take the longest out of everything that we were doing. First, what we did is we designed the snap components. We figured out what shape cutout would work best and what size bumps, and also what size our connector would be. So we went through several iterations of prototyping for this. Once we had this figured out and we found a reliable snap method, we went ahead and we added the utensil tips and created the base for the flashlight. After that, we figured out we needed to integrate the electronics with our base. So we went ahead and we designed as a group how our electronics and our flashlight would come together. Once we had that figured out, it was simply a matter of figuring out which screw connections would fit and then making the flashlight come together.
So the first major challenge we ran into as a group was making sure that we could get smooth connections between our utensils and the flashlight, being able to remove it and insert it back in without screwing anything up. The next major challenge we faced was the threads or the screws where we attach the head and the end container of the flashlight. For example, the first print we had worked perfectly on the modeling on the computer, but didn't fit in line with the tolerances of the printer. So we had to work around that. Third major challenge we had was the electrical wiring and stuff. We had to make sure that everything fit in right. We didn't short out the circuit. And that all the electric parts and the batteries could be removable and fit in snugly. Another big challenge we learned as a group later on in the process was it's tough to physically change something during the process because you have to wait for the pieces to be 3D printed and then realize there's a mistake, which takes a lot of time. Another challenge we faced just overall was it's hard to get together as a group with everyone's different schedules and classes and all things going on to be able to work on the project and get stuff done.
So FEDD was pretty cool. There were a lot of cool 3D creations there. It was a really cool experience and we got to see some interesting ideas. But it was really interesting getting judged because none of us had didn't know really what to expect when it came to judging, and but we presented well and we felt like we did a pretty good job, and then we actually got first at FEDD, so I guess we did a okay job.
If we would have done this differently, we would have figured out the electronics first. That way we could have figured out the dimensions of the top, and we would have been able to add glass or acrylic to the top as sort of covering. Also, if we would have added on to our project, we would have made the flashlight watertight. If I were to give advice to future freshmen, I would say meet with your group as soon as possible just to start brainstorming and get to know the people, figure out when you guys can meet during the week.
Just look up something from your daily life more often, and then you can find more idea when you need them.
Account for mistakes you're going to make, and don't be afraid to make mistakes because you're going to make them. Just don't freak out if you make a mistake, and make sure you have enough time to fix those mistakes before it's too late.
Start printing early, because as you get closer and closer to the FEDD date, the lines for the 3D printers become longer and longer as the demand increases. I ended up spending sometimes 7 to 9 hours waiting for a printer so I could just print. It was ridiculous. So start early.
Establish good communication with your group from the first day, because this is a group project and it just makes everything run so much smoother when you work together and communicate easily.